Welcome to Move Your Mind. My name's Nick Bracks, and this is a podcast where we have real conversations with real people and give real advice. On today's episode, I spoke to Brock Tully. I've been communicating back and forth with Brock for a number of years now. He is an icon in Canada. I first connected with him when I had moved to Vancouver and fell in love with this place, and he shares that same admiration for Vancouver. And it was just the most amazing chat. We covered so many topics. I learnt about his wild story, riding his bike across America 3 times, raising awareness for mental health before anyone was talking about it, writing reflection and books, working with Eckhart Tolle before Eckhart became a thing. He is an incredible person. He is a selfless person, and I learnt so much. I'm on a bit of a high after this one, so thank you again for tuning in to Move Your Mind every week. And if you would like to learn more, you can purchase the Move Your Mind book by going to nickbracks.com/book, or you can join the Move Your Mind community by going to moveyourmind.me. All right, Brock, thank you so much for coming in person. We've talked for, I don't know how long now, but I'm so happy that I got to actually meet you in person, because most of these podcasts I do over Zoom, and we're just talking about computers and technology, and everything imaginable happens every time. So it's nice to just sit here in person and do it. I don't think too many things can go wrong.
No, this is so nice and relaxing, and great to meet you too, Nick. And all the work you're doing is amazing.
Yeah, really appreciate it. And I mean, it's super inspiring. I've sort of seen from afar what you're doing. I think I'd reached out to you quite a while back, maybe when I was actually living in Vancouver, but to see sort of over such a long period, I guess just to see how you've conducted your life and what you stand for. I think it's just such an important message, and probably could not be more important than ever in this day and age, with all the different noise and just the crap that we're fed these days, to just see how you're conducting yourself. It's really refreshing.
Well, and it's important to know too that I falter a lot. I talk about it, I write, with my books and speaking, things come through me, and I know how I'd like to be living, but I'm not always living that way. But I try to stay in touch with my heart as much as I can. So I don't want people to put me up on a pedestal, or that I'm just on this journey too. But I think, and I always tell people too, like say in the downtown east side where people are struggling with drugs or whatever, you don't have to have it all together before you get out and speak at things. It's your story that's important, that we're growing or we're dying, really. And so it doesn't matter. Nobody's ahead of or behind anybody else, that we're all just wanting to grow. That's what's important.
I couldn't agree with that more. And I think, that's really been my philosophy with the work that I've done, has been, how can it all started for me just sharing my own story, and that really taught me the power of storytelling. And like you're saying, it's not about having all the answers, or there's no one size fits all. No one can have all the answers. But if we can learn to just be more open and share stories, that's how we learn, and that's how we can understand other people, understand ourselves. And I was actually living, when I first moved here, on right near Hastings Street, and I couldn't believe I didn't know anything about the sort of drug problems and homeless problems in Vancouver, and I couldn't believe how big of an issue it was. And I remember every day I'd be walking down Hastings to go to the gym, and I would just really take my time to look around and see what was happening, and just think to myself, these people, people are so quick to judge, but what? Probably for them, 1 or 2 things didn't go their way, that, a couple of things happened that would have tipped any of us into that same position, and now they're stuck there. And, they're no better or worse than us. They just need, they just have had bad luck in life, and they need help, and they need support. And, we're very quick in society to judge people.
Yeah, it's interesting. I ran an event in Vancouver. It's called One of a Kind Stories, and another event too, where we had 600 people in the audience, and it was a day of 12 stories, 10 minutes each. And I got people that had never shared their story. They felt so much shame around it. Maybe they lost a leg in an accident, or they're addicted to drugs, or maybe they'd been raped or, abused in different ways, and they'd held it inside. and they got the courage to come, and they spoke in front of 600 people. Every time it would be a standing ovation, people in tears, that people saw that nobody was really judging them, but it's more like in our head, that we do that. And when I go to the downtown east side again, one guy, he came up to me and said, "Brock, I've seen you down here quite a few times, but I felt too much shame to come up to you. And anyways, my name's so-and-so." And I said, "Wow." And when I was in high school in West Vancouver, he was the captain of the football team, and I was captain of the basketball team. We knew each other quite well. And so I asked him his story, and he said, I was married with 3 kids in West Vancouver, and I fell off the ladder, broke my back, ended up in the hospital, got addicted to the drugs for the pain, and I slid downhill, and my family left me, and he's down there. And I would have thought, like, a lot of times people down there think I'm like 45 and I'm 75, but here is a guy that looked like he'd be my father almost. I mean, he looked so old, and yet his story was so sad and just broke my heart, and how quickly that can happen. So I always just think we're this close to being down there, really, all of us.
It's such a good point. And, that is so sad, and just it hits home, because you sort of, I think a lot of this stuff we categorize and think, oh no, that can never happen to me, and it's almost a self-protection sort of mechanism. But like you're saying, it's just the human mind is so fragile, and I think people don't realize that. And you were telling me before we started, that all these healthy things that you do, you don't, how you eat, you don't do drugs, alcohol, none of that stuff. And this isn't something that comes easy, or that you just can decide you're going to do and everything's okay. It's like anything. It takes maintenance. Everything's a day-by-day proposition. And
it's very hard. I mean, it's funny because I quit drinking and drugs, and I'd never drank coffee, but meat and everything 50 years ago. Like, it's amazing. It seems like yesterday in a lot of ways. But, when you're saying that, to another event I ran in Vancouver, I organized, was a World Kindness Concert for 12 years with all the best performers. They all gave their time because they liked what I was doing around preventing bullying and stuff. But the last couple of years, I got somebody right off the streets, and we filmed them, and I showed it on the big screen at the thing, there's thousands of people at the event or at the concert. And they got the biggest standing ovations, because I think everybody kind of relates. Like, I really believe, and maybe we'll get into a bit more about with addictions and different stuff, but I really believe that right now a lot of people are really hurting. Every person I meet knows somebody in their close circle that's either addicted, dealing with depression or whatever, that we all think we're alone. And that's what I want people to know. We're not alone, and that people do care, and we need to share our stories, and so that we can grow and not isolate.
I couldn't agree more with that. And again, that's, my biggest sort of mission with what I'm doing. It's all about, like what we're doing right now. I'm interviewing, but it's just about sharing stories. Because everyone has a story, everyone can learn, and we do have that. It's crazy, all the stuff you're saying, I'm resonating with in my own life, where you have these voices in your head and you feel this shame about certain things, and you think that everyone else is going to judge you or this or that or the other, and no one really cares. It's a battle against yourself. And we just all want to feel heard, and we tell ourselves when we're struggling, we'll look at, and so I think social media has destroyed a lot of, or elevated a lot of these issues, because we can just see all these people that are showing the highlight reel of their life, and compare our dark moments to that, and ask ourselves, what's wrong with me? When there's nothing wrong with you. You're a human. You're going through the same things everyone goes through in a different way. But we don't realize that.
And that's especially with young people. And what I'm trying to do is get people to talk more about what they're feeling and everything. Say for an example, if you're gay or lesbian, and you're in my day way back, well, you never knew anybody that was, because it was so hidden, right? And people would bully or whatever. But you have something like somebody's bullied because they're gay. They think it's because they're gay. And then you end up having pink shirt day, and you find out that 99% of the students in the school support you. They're all wearing pink shirts.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
yeah.
that's what I want people to see, that with bullying, that's just one or two people. But what's tragic is we'll bully ourselves every day after that in our head and think there's something wrong with us, but there's something wrong with the person doing the bullying.
Yeah.
And there's nobody was born a bully. So I've bullied and been bullied. And so I don't like when somebody calls somebody a bully or any kind of label or name, because we're just people that sometimes when we lose touch with our heart, we do the not nice things that we do. And when I'm in touch with my heart, then I see us all as one. And I don't want to hurt another human being.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, absolutely. It goes back to, again, what you were talking about before we started recording, with just labeling people in general. And it's true. And same with me. I've been bullied. I've bullied people. We all learn, and we all, and I think we're very quick to judge people. You see someone who makes a mistake, or who, whatever happens, society these days seems very quick to just try and cancel people, judge people. I think people should be punished if they do the wrong thing, but we need to also be empathetic and understand, hang on, this person is clearly not innately a bad person. What have they been through? What's led to them to get here? And it doesn't mean we should accept bad behavior, but it means we should try and treat them as a human who's on a journey, and not be so judgmental, because that's where all the shame comes from.
I guess basically to see the essence. One of my little thoughts in my book, this is a real simple one, is I may not like what someone does, but I love that someone who does it. So we might not like their actions, and definitely that we need to have punishment for that. Or I believe in tough love, and but we need to care about each other and know that they can change. Like for me, I was when I was 23, I was playing football at university and in a fraternity and addicted to drugs and alcohol, but nobody knew that I was suicidal and depressed. I was the happiest guy. I was kind of the fun guy, life at the party and stuff. But I was very close to taking my life. And now look at me now. But so when I say look at me now, I'm not saying like I've got it all together, because now I get depressed, but it's not for months on end. It's for a day but to me now, when I get depressed, it's a signal to me that something's going on in my life I'm not happy with. Whereas before, when I wasn't happy, I wanted to numb that feeling, right? And so I would drink. But now I want to look at it and say, wow, no, I'm just maybe not doing enough in this world. I'm not following my purpose. I'm not doing what I was called to do. So I look at it as a message to me. With anger, the same thing. When I'm angry, it's important to get it out, yell into a pillow or do something, but not to take it out on other people and things.
No, I think I love that, because it is so easy to get caught up in that. And we just sort of, you can go down that path where you just you don't allow yourself to actually feel things or understand the message it's telling you, or make the changes you need to make. But it is hard. It's really tough. Because well, it's such a strong sort of feeling when you're in those negative states. It feels like it's going to be forever, and it feels like it's impossible to be happy again. And how do you get out of it? But leads to me, I guess, what I was hoping to learn from. One of the key things I wanted to ask you is your story. How did you get to where you are now? I mean, it's maybe like an abbreviated version, but you've done so many different things. But where did it all start? And you just sort of reflected on you had problems with depression, drugs when you were younger. How did you go from that to where you are now? I want to hear a bit about your journey.
It's fascinating though, actually, because I can give you quite a short version, but I was at university, suicidal and depressed. As I said, I was sitting under a tree in the park, or Stanley Park here in Vancouver. I had my books, and I said, either I take my life, or I was student teaching at a high school, and a young guy failing in phys ed said to me, do you want to ride across North America on a bicycle? Nobody's ever done it. 1970.
Wow.
So I said, sure. thinking he was kidding because he was failing in phys ed, right? This long-haired guy and didn't like sports and stuff. And so he kept me at my word. He was on a 3-speed bike. We went as far as Minneapolis together, and I couldn't keep up with him most of the time. And I'm exaggerating a bit, but we're about equal. And then I continued on, I didn't leave him for any bad reason. I just needed to be alone, because now, I mean, I was the kind of person before that would go to a movie with somebody, more so people thought I had friends. I couldn't do something, go for dinner by myself, or, people would think there was something wrong with me. Whereas now I love to go to dinner by myself or whatever.
Yeah.
So anyways, I continued on. I ended up going 10,000 miles or 16,000 kilometers all around the United States and Mexico. And that was the time of the Vietnam War and the racial riots and the hippie movement. So they had me in jails in Mississippi and different things, but every day was an adventure. So I started to really see people, like I really saw how, in the black part of Chicago, they wanted to beat me up because I was white when I went through the ghetto there, and they were throwing rocks at me. But I felt how I became prejudiced to black people in no time. And then when I went through the South, the white people wanted to throw me in jail, and the black people were my friends. So I saw how we're conditioned by our environment. So just like with religions or whatever, I say to people that are really fanatical about their religion or something, I say, well, what if you're born in another country under that religion? Wouldn't you be just as fanatical? And I'd kind of go like, oh yeah, maybe. I said, you're a passionate person, but we need to see how all religions really deep down want the same thing. So one of my thoughts in my book is, every human being is one of a kind. To be human is to live as one and be kind. And to really see that inside that's why I was inspired by Martin Luther King and Gandhi and people like that. So that bike trip turned around my life. That's when I quit drinking and drugs and meat, and I eat fish still, but and no coffee and stuff, but I eat sweets. But I'm trying to quit those now too. Anyways, so then 30 years later, I started the Kindness Foundation of Canada, and people said, why don't you ride around North America again, which I did.
Wow.
And that was with Wilma, and we went 17,000 kilometers and right around the outskirts of the United States and Canada, across Canada. And that was fantastic. And then I did a third one that was really tough. I was 63 years young at that time, in 2009. And I went through mid-America, had a team of people here that set up a place for me to stay every night for 8 months. So that was really neat. But every day I had to ride, and I was pulling the 70-pound trailer. Every day I had to ride to get to that next day. So if I was sick or whatever, and that took a toll on me, like emotionally and physically and mentally and everything, because it was so difficult. But so really on those things, I really learned, and out of it came my little books, and out of it came, concerts I organized around kindness and events and different things. So, and then speaking at different things, which I did. So basically that's kind of my story. And along the way I'd falter and do crazy stuff, but then I'm slowly learning, I think. And so one of my little thoughts too, do you mind me throwing in little thoughts from my book?
Please do. Please do.
One is, I want to work hard in my faults, but be easy on myself when I falter. I don't want to beat myself up. I want to know that if I did something I didn't feel good about, I didn't mean to do it. I just had lost touch with my heart, and not to beat myself up. And I think that's what people do.
I think that's really tough. Yeah. Exactly. Because I can go on my own personal experience when
I'd love to hear.
Just when I make mistakes, I'll beat myself up.
Yeah.
And I'm getting better sometimes, but it is just so difficult not to go into that work, to just be easy on yourself and think, you know what, like, okay, I wasn't in tune with myself, but let's move on. What can I learn from this? It's so hard not to sit in that feeling of just self-hatred or frustration at making a mistake in something.
And Can I tell you where I believe it all comes from?
Yeah.
This is my own, I never read books and stuff, and people always laugh at me. I got through university without reading, and I never went to class or anything.
Yeah.
But so I kind of try to listen to here, and my belief, just a quick thing, is that we came here as little children, so full of life. I used to lifeguard, and I'd watch kids at the beach. They're never ever bored. They're just so full of life. In grade 1, we start teaching children at home and in our community and church or whatever, that something out there is going to make them happy, like their money, the marks, their trophies, their skills, their looks, whatever it is. So what happens is we move from our heart to our head.
Yes.
When I'm in my head, I miss my heart, like that was the love of life. That's been in the moment, as Eckhart Tolle says in The Power of Now. By the way, I helped him publish that book, and
Really?
The Power of Now.
Oh, wow. I got to ask you about that.
He came to me because of my little book. So it's quite an honor.
Wow.
Now he's all over the world, just about being in the moment, right? So in grade 1, we move from our heart to our head. We start moving, and what happens is we start to be disconnected from our heart. And so when we're unhappy, we have a choice to put other people down, which is bullying, or we can grow as a person. But sadly, in schools, we don't talk about feelings. We don't, we're marked at a very early age. So what we do in school is we're always comparing ourselves to each other, like in sports or school or whatever, our looks again, and so what we do is every person has something about themselves they don't feel good about. And so we focus on that. You could ask, because you speak at schools, you could ask an assembly of 600 kids, how many of you have been bullied? Every hand will go up.
Yeah.
But they think they're alone. So when we're disconnected from our heart like that, then we're not happy. And so we have that choice, and then we become so conditioned to that as we get older. We want all these different things, And at our funeral, nobody ever says what kind of car you had or what kind of marks. It's the kind of person we are. But we lose touch. So my belief is that a lot of our anger, I'm not saying with things always, but our anger is that we're angry because not that many years ago, you were that little child on the beach, so full of love and excitement, and you've lost that. And we're angry because of that. And we're comparing ourselves to other people. So I believe now there's only one main addiction, and that's we're addicted to not feeling good enough. So just like you said, when you put yourself down or you do something you don't feel good about. So I believe we all don't feel good enough, or most all of us, I can't say all, but we don't feel good enough. And then we're drawn to other forms of addiction, like drinking or drugs or food or whatever it is, because who doesn't want to feel not good enough? And that numbs our feelings. And if you go to the downtown east side again, where people are addicted and stuff, every person there, their story was of abuse or trauma or whatever. And they want to numb themselves. They don't want to feel. And I said, but by feeling, that's when you're going to start growing. And with that event that I did, people would be in tears. And that's what's healing, because they're opening up their heart and saying, and then people are giving them a standing ovation for saying, well, I was raped or whatever. And I just feel so much shame. And then to get a standing ovation, they're like, how empowering. They're like, wow, nobody's really judging me. I'm judging myself. I'm beating myself up because I don't feel good enough.
Yeah.
Isn't that tragic, eh?
It's so tragic. And I resonate with everything you're saying. I mean, it's just, I love how you've worded that, because it's a very, it's a simple way to understand, to understand a very complex thing going on in the world, where, like you're saying, whether someone is addicted to drugs, porn, social media, work, whatever the hell it is, it is really stemming from exactly what you said, where we're not feeling enough. We don't feel right inside. We're unhappy. We don't want to deal with our emotions. We feel like we just cannot be what the world wants us to be. It's too hard. So then you numb yourself, and then you stay on that cycle, and you never get out of it. And it's really sad. And it's like, it doesn't get better. Like, I always thought, surely people as you get older, this stuff must change, and it doesn't. It almost
No,
it
no,
gets worse. It gets
wrong.
worse. Yeah,
It's worse.
because
I
people
was
get set in their ways.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. I was mad at my parents for so long. And then I was realized I wasn't conditioned as long as they were. So I had to change that pattern. And so I was no longer mad at them for being these perfect people. So, so like one of my thoughts, you kind of said it, is to me, life is simple. We've made it complicated. And the challenge is to get back in touch with its simplicity.
Yeah.
Another one is kind of like on relationships. I don't want you to fill a hole in me. I want you to feel whole with me.
Yeah.
So it's a funny thing how we're brought up, like things are changing all the time for me. And but with relationships that I always thought, what we were saying, my wife or my girlfriend or my that I don't own people. I don't like that word but I don't even like that when people, for me, this, whatever the people do is great. So I'm not saying for anybody else, just me, but my soulmate, and it sounds so nice and spiritual and everything, but I don't like that anymore because the word "my's" in there. And I think now my thought is that my soulmate is my own heart. And when I'm in touch with my own heart, my soulmate, then everybody's my soulmate.
Yes.
I'm not walking down the street looking for somebody that's going to be my partner.
Oh.
Yeah, because I don't need that, or I don't want, I'm very needy, but I don't like that about myself, and I don't want to need somebody. I want to appreciate them and love them and nurture them for who they are. So I want them to be somebody special in my life.
I mean, it's a big area because, it's so interesting with relationships and dating, and we've been conditioned through Hollywood movies where
exactly.
Love at first sight, this happy, like it's happily ever after or whatever, and it's meant to be, you're taught that it's meant to be lust, and it's meant to be this. And I've been, I was talking to you before about how I've been living in New York, and the dating over there is just crazy. And I've got friends that have a lot of money there. They're going through, chasing women and trying to meet the next best thing. And even if they're happy with the person they meet, they're looking for, no, there's got to be something better. And it is just, and I've fallen in those patterns in the past as well, because you get conditioned to think, okay, this person's going to be my savior.
Yeah.
They become like a drug. They're the new drug where it's going to, I need to get that, passion and, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And that's, even if you do have that, that's not sustainable. You're dealing with another human who you're trying to grow together.
Yeah.
And it's actually unhealthy. And I was listening to, I can't remember who said it the other day, but it was a psychologist talking about that sort of thing. And they were saying people want to have that, Hollywood sort of romance and have every day to be so passionate and so amazing. And what they don't realize is no one actually wants that, because how the hell would you get anything done in life if you were just all consumed by your relationship in that way? Then you can't even have your own time to do anything else. So it's so much conditioning as well, and on that level. And it's crazy.
And how to uncondition ourselves, that's a big challenge. Like, you look at the songs on the radio, they're like, baby, I'll die if you leave me, my world's nothing without you, babe, you're like oxygen to me, and all these things. And I tell these young girls in schools and stuff, I say, now, people write that because we have this hole in us, because we've lost touch with their heart, and they really get it when you really talk, because I get a chance to talk to them. And I say, people write those songs because they know we'll get addicted to that. They make a lot of money, and then they become our idols. Yeah. And then you look up to them. And I said, there are beautiful songs like Michael Jackson, The Man in the Mirror, or Christine Aguilera's The Voice Within, or the song Unwritten. We use some of those songs at a show we do called Kindness Rocks in the schools. But most of the songs are very needy and codependent because they make a lot of money, every second word's baby, 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 and so we condition people to this. So if you ever watch, friends kid me because sometimes I watch The Bachelor or The Bachelorette, and I get a kick out of it, and I say, you learn from everything. And if you really listen to those beautiful women, because right now it's The Bachelorette, or it's The Bachelor and The Bachelorette, all these women, right? But every one of them doesn't feel good enough. It all comes out. Like they'll say, oh my God, he doesn't like me. This one guy, there's zillions of men in the world. This one guy they're chasing after. But every one of them, when they get asked to go home or whatever, they're just in tears, like, oh, there's something wrong with me, or why don't guys ever like me, or why can't I sustain a relationship, or whatever. But I believe that you can, if you find out this is your soulmate, and if you're in touch with yourself, then you can have a long-lasting relationship that's really great. But you're not possessive of that person. You allow them to be who they are. If they want to go travel, you say, well, but I'll, I love you and I want you to be happy.
Oh, totally. And I mean, I've found that so difficult. And, with my current relationship, it's the first time where I've truly felt that. And I've said to her so many times, I'm like, why this set feels too easy?
Yeah.
Because I've been so used to, I'm very set, I know what I want to do in my life, and I know, I need to travel and do different things, and very clear on that. And, I'm not willing to really compromise that. If, and I've been in relationships in the past where people tried to change me and said, you can't be this way and you've got to now, be this person. And if we end up having kids, you got to do this and give up on your dreams and blah, blah, blah. I was like, well, why? And, in this relationship, it's like, no, and same of how I am with her. It's we beautiful. Both go do your own thing. If we don't see each other for 3 months, okay, that's not ideal, but you know what, we'll make it work, because if it means that we're both doing what we need to do, and it feels easy. And people keep saying to us, oh, that must be so difficult, and a lot of it's long distance, but it's actually the easiest relationship I've ever had, because we're both supporting each other. But and even for me within that, because of my conditioning and because of like what you're talking about, my parents, political background, they're from a very old school family. So many of their, what I've been taught growing up, it's just so ingrained in your head that even when you're trying to listen to your heart and do things how you want, it's just so freaking difficult, because it's just so bloody programmed in there. So it's just so hard
to get out of this darn
even when it's so frustrating, because even when you're aware of it, I'm thinking about, I'm like, hey, Nick, and there's a decision I made recently, because it actually went against, it was more my parents and, those people talking, but it's so frustrating, because I'm like, I made all this progress, but that it's still there, it's so hard to undo these, this conditioning.
It is so hard. And that's the thing again about not beating yourself up and everything. But to think, by allowing her to do whatever she wants to do, that makes her more excited to see you, because you're allowing her to be who she is, which makes your relationship even more exciting. That's what's beautiful. By allowing somebody and saying, no, do whatever you want. If then they want to come back, because here's somebody that's on my team.
Exactly.
They're supporting me. But a lot of relationships, kind of like what you said, that you get into a new relationship, you're excited, everything's new, and you have this picture of somebody. And then after a year or something, when the romance is gone and that excitement, all of a sudden you find out, wow, they've got a lot of things that they got to deal with. And they see the same thing about you. And then we're angry because we don't take responsibility too often in our world. We end up blaming the other person for not being this beautiful thing that we imagine. So then the relationship, by a year, we're addicted to it. We both don't feel good. So we start abusing each other, and it just goes downhill, and it becomes really abusive until we end up leaving that person. And then we get scared to go into another relationship, because we end up hating the other person instead of, anybody I've gone out with, if I run into them on the street, we're excited to see each other. And I love that feeling.
Oh, yeah.
Because we ended it with a lot of love and caring,
Absolutely. Thank you so much for supporting Move Your Mind. We're expanding the offerings of the organization, and we're tailoring everything we do to suit you guys and to try and answer to all of your needs and the questions that you send in. The book is available globally. You can find all of the links at nickbracks.com/book. And we've just released the Move Your Mind community. We've currently got a men's community group, a women's community group, a general group. We're going to be loading up other groups. and you can find all of the links at moveyourmind.me. This group's been created based on the needs of what we've heard and learnt throughout running Move Your Mind. And we have live events, we've got courses, we've got huge amounts of value, the ability to share information, share ideas, work in groups together to grow and share your learnings, to learn about different topics. You get email reminders. There's a whole lot of features in there. We're constantly updating it, and we're so excited to share it with you. You can find all of the information about it at moveyourmind.me. So romantic relationships especially, but in relationships in general, it's so difficult to not fall into that codependency pattern, because it's just how, again, the world's been conditioned, how so many, it's, gets passed on, and people condition you to be like that. So I think it really it's why it's so important that we have these conversations, that people get educated, that we work on ourselves first, because I don't think you can have a healthy relationship unless, it's not saying that both people have to, be perfect or have no problems. It's more about being at that level of awareness where you're working on yourselves and understanding, like what we talked about, that you're not with someone because you need something out of them, because it's just not sustainable. And that goes to everything in life, really, doesn't it?
It really does, but it's hard to undo that. One of my thoughts again in my book is, I want you to be happy to see me, but I don't want you to need to see me for your happiness. Like our dog, it's sustainable. If you have a dog, 20 years when he passed on, it's the saddest day of your life. And for me, it was. And they're excited every day to see you. They can run to the door because they live in the now, right? And they come to the door and they're excited to see you. Wouldn't that be neat if your relationships were like that?
Yeah, exactly.
Like where you're excited to see each other, then that is a beautiful thing. And that's, to me, possible, but it's hard. But anything on progressing towards that, that's what we want to do, is just grow, not to be, say, like, as you said, when you beat yourself up, and I do the same thing, is to say, I'm growing though, and that's what's exciting. And I know that what's going to stop me from growing is beating myself up. And I need to just forgive myself and forgive others and move on, and know that we all want to be happy. It's like in the world right now with all the countries, people from every country, you've met every person from every country, and I have, and they're just beautiful people. I say, it's not the country, it's the leadership. And often those are sick people that are very disconnected from their heart, and they're very narcissistic, and they want the power and that, and they're not doing, it'd be beautiful if leaders said to other countries, well, how can we help you guys in your country? Or as Gandhi said, no, have no borders at all. That would be ideal. But that's what's sad. But people in every country, like right now, there was a huge earthquake in Turkey and Syria, and people from 24 countries are there helping people,
which is beautiful.
So there is no such thing as really a tragedy in some ways, except for the people that lost their lives, or that were continuing, like being abusive, or like what's happened with our indigenous people. That's just such a tragedy. But when something happens, like an earthquake or something, it's a tragedy, but then we can pull together. It's an opportunity for us to see no color or style or age or country or whatever.
I think that's such a good point. And also it is quite shocking when you start to, like a lot of the people running the world, the leaders, they're not, in touch with themselves, and they're sort of leading from that point of power, or, whatever they're wanting to get out of it. And it's when you start peeling back the layers from so many different areas of life, the people we're looking up to, or that are, sending these messages and having so much influence on people, often aren't doing it from the right place. And it's kind of shocking when you start to realize that and think, gee, it's how do we change that? Because this is influencing so many people.
It's coming from a place of fear, and it's just like an individual relationship. I always thought when there's a war or something, like say what's going on, like Russia and Ukraine and stuff, that they should build hospitals right on the border, so that you have doctors from both sides trying to save people, and you're lying in a bed next to somebody from the other country and finding, wow, I'm killing these people. They're just like me. They have families and children and feelings and all the same thing, you know. God,
Yeah.
it just brings tears to my eyes to think about how, you know, we don't see each other as people. Like, gosh,
It's hard to believe. It's so hard to believe that we can, you know, because like you're saying, everyone, we're just all human, you know.
yeah,
It's hard to believe we can get to that point where we're having to kill each other. Like,
yeah.
how does that happen when there's better ways to resolve things, but it's
God,
it's
it's
crazy.
brutal. I was on a show years ago when I was young, like you.
Yeah.
I don't believe in age, anyways.
Yeah.
But I was on this show, talk show, and thing. And then there's a guy, an older guy, and he had been in the war years before the World War and stuff. And he was a fighter pilot. And he said, and then one day I was a fighter pilot, and I was in like Vietnam or wherever it was. And he said I came down really low, and there's this guy running for his life. And he said, I shot the guy, you know, because he was in what we thought was the enemy. And ever since that, I've been like dealing with psychiatric kinds of stuff, because here was another human being. When I was up above like that, I just saw it as like an ant almost, right? Running. But then when I came down and then to shoot this, and then I realized after that was just a human being who probably has loved ones like we all do. And and he's had to live with that.
And that's with you for your whole life. And I mean, PTSD and for people that have been, you know, in those situations is gigantic. It's for veterans, it's, you know, one of the huge issues, isn't it?
Breaks my heart. I tell you, that breaks my heart. I see them all over the streets of like the United States, and they come back and nobody cares about them, and they've got all this PTSD and everything and stuff. And
how are you meant to go on after that? It's just like if they don't have the support, they don't know what's going on inside. They haven't got the tools to emotionally express what's going on, so they bottle it all up. What the hell are you meant to do? It's crazy.
Our priorities are I was in the Seattle airport one time, and there was all these guys going off, young guys, 18, going off to war, and they're all in their army fatigues, and nobody was saying hi to them or anything in the airport. And I thought to myself, but if somebody came in like a singer that was well known, you know, sing these songs that I don't really like so much, but everybody would run up to them to get their autograph. And I thought, I don't like war, and I don't like that it happens, and I wouldn't go to war, you know, to try to get something. And but I really admire these people that's going to war because they believe in fighting for their country and everything. And I thought those are the people you should be going up and saying hi and wishing them well and getting their autograph or whatever, you know.
Well, it is. It's, I mean, the way the world is structured is kind of crazy, that we idolize entertainers and, you know, people that, not to say there's not value in these other areas, but the people that are really, you know, like on the front line making change in the world, it's not often the ones that we really naturally look up to. We're looking up to the more, vanity, I guess, is where a lot of it's coming from.
What we've kind of promoted, like I've always been an athlete, and you do acting and stuff and everything else.
Yeah.
And I always think, and I love every profession, but I think how we glorify certain ones. And I thought one day, wow, here we glorify actors. They get paid more than most people, and yet they're pretending to be somebody they're not.
Exactly.
Isn't that weird? When we're trying to be who we are, and you're pretending to be somebody you're not, but you're really good at it, so you get lots of money. It's kind of
so
ironic.
Crazy. And I mean, I've been sort of in that world a little bit, and it's just, there's so many layers to it, because there's that layer, and then there's a layer that these people just are not happy. You know, I'd say 99% of the actors I met have huge issues with anxiety. They're unhappy, they're stressed, they're trying to prove a point. You know, you get a role, then it's like, what's next? And there's uncertainty and the anxiety, and just there's so many mental health issues in these industries, you know. And there's never enough, you know. Even if you have success, it's like, okay, well, then they want the next thing. Now, how do I become the biggest actor in the world? Okay, how do I then what? It's like it's a never-ending well of, you know, needing to just get more fame and more attention and more whatever, and
Yeah.
you get addicted to it, and then you need more and more and more, and it doesn't end, and it's just
It's
like
weird, isn't it?
crazy.
And it comes back to what I was saying about not feeling good enough. They always, it's like if you ran for Miss Universe and you won, then you'd feel bad because then you're losing that beauty every day, right? So
Exactly.
you're never ever going to be happy and stuff. So one of my little books that I wrote, it's all the silly things that we do as people, but a lot of people want this fame and everything, and then they end up, once they're famous, they live in this big house with a big wall and a guard dog, and they wear their sunglasses, and they're in the limousine that's with darkened windows. And here they wanted to get known, and yet they're so lonely. They're sitting in this big house,
Exactly.
and then they go out once in a while, and everybody cheers them on. But it was like when I was in university, the first thought I ever wrote, Nick, was I'd rather be seen for who I am and be alone than be accepted for someone I'm not and be lonely.
That's so good.
And I used to have a lot of people around me, but I was very lonely. Now I
Mm.
have real people around me, and I feel much more alone, but closer to people.
Yeah,
It's interesting how it works.
I love that, and you'll feel more alone being around people
Yeah,
you're disconnected with than
yeah,
literally sitting in a room actually alone. Like, and I've had that happen so many times where now still working on it, but most of the people in my life now are, really, I have a smaller circle, and they're all people that I'm really connected to. And when I am in situations where you're around people you can't connect with, and it's more based on vanity, or it's
yeah,
whatever, you feel more alone than
yeah,
ever. You'd rather just be by yourself, sitting and looking at a mountain or something, and
yeah.
thinking about.
A lot of people.
Yeah, fame and all that sort of stuff, and chasing that attention to feel valid. Jim Carrey said a quote on that where he wishes everyone could become as rich and famous as he became, so that they could learn that it's not the answer.
Yeah,
Because it's almost like people need to experience these things to realize that it's not the answer, because we're all looking for that magical solution that, oh
yeah.
no, surely these people, we put them on a pedestal, and we try and look at them as gods or whatever. They must have the answers. They must be happy.
Yeah.
If only I can get to that. It's like, no, they're a person that has the same issues that we all have, and they're just using that as a vice to cope, and they're not. That doesn't mean they're happy.
See, that is so fantastic, that you say that and everything, because I believe, again, not with everybody, but whatever, it's just what I feel, is that our purpose is to give back where we've been hurt the most. So it's neat that Jim Carrey did that. And I wish more people that are rich like that would come forward and say, look, I am very lonely. Like, I've got this big house, I need to get back to my heart, live back to, simply, and this is just a house. Nobody's going to say I got a great house when I pass on at my funeral. And get for them to say that. So I tell the people again in the downtown east side that have been abused or raped or whatever, I say, I can come down and be compassionate, but I'm not going to really give you hope in the sense, because I've never experienced that. So if you give back, say, to the young Indigenous women, say, that have been raped, or men that have been raped, and help or support young girls that are 13 or 14 that have been raped, and then they'll listen because you've experienced that. So I really believe we can give back where we've been hurt most, in life. And so to work with people that are going through where your challenges. So Jim Carrey kind of is doing that. By saying that, look how it touched you, and obviously a lot of other people. But most people, because they're disconnected from their heart, they want to act like they've got it all together as actors, right? I'm really famous, and they don't want to admit that they're really hurting. But I've seen those people, and you've seen those people, and I've got to know them, and I know that they're probably even lonelier than somebody. Like people say, I want to help other countries, but who's to say, like in these where they're living just in little shacks and stuff, but you see the kids playing and they're so excited. Who's to say we're any happier than them? But we always think we've got more than them. a friend of mine,
Yeah.
he wanted to get jackets for people in Africa in this certain little town, which was really nice, these beautiful jackets. So he's doing fundraising. I said, because he was really a great person to do this. And I said, but we don't know, you're doing this for these people there. You're taking these jackets there. But what about the people that don't get jackets there? You may be ending up causing more harm than good. You don't know. And I think the intent is good. And intention is always the most important thing, right?
Yeah.
But you don't know. And I said, we need to, for me, I need to be doing it locally, because I think people here are lonelier than those people in those places, even though they're going through really tough conditions and everything else.
I think you're probably right. And I mean, I found it fascinating. I traveled quite extensively through India a couple of times, been through Africa, and spent time in, local villages, just connecting with people there. And these people had nothing, for them, it's like, if they don't go and get fresh water, find enough food, look after their community and their family, they're not going to survive. That's all they have time to think about. Yet they're so present, so happy. And I think what it is it's like what you're saying. If you have all of these different things, you got the mansion, you're sitting alone in it, how's it going to make you more happy? Because as a human, there's only so many things we actually need every day. And we can have 1,000 different, cars or houses or whatever, but we can actually only sit, lie in one bed, we can only be in one place at one time. So in those situations, they don't have the choice of, they don't have the luxury of choice like we have. We can sit here and think, if you're from Canada, Australia, US, most of us have a lot of opportunity. We're pretty lucky. So we can think of, maybe I don't want to do this. Maybe I want to do this instead. What about this? Actually, no, I want this. That person has that. I want that as well. Where does it end? And that's a horrible feeling. It's overwhelming. Whereas if you strip all of that away and don't have a choice, and you're like, no, this is what I'm doing, and I'm just going to embrace it, then it's simple.
It's that myth of Maury that we don't have enough in the stuff. Like most people live their kitchen, their bedroom, and their bathroom. That's all they use. But I go by a big, huge mansion or house, and all of a sudden I get the willies, because I think I'd be so lonely in there, and that's, you wouldn't want to use it. If somebody gave me that house, I would take it, because I'd sell it, and then I would put the money to good things, to do the things in the world that I think are important, right? But people are just very lonely, and it makes me sad, because we need to change education. I'm a teacher by profession, and we need to bring kids more into their feelings, more into their heart. So one of my thoughts is, in my book, is I do enjoy things, but joy comes from loving the things I do. So we can love the journey towards the mark. The mark's nice. I'm not against marks or trophies or anything like that. They're fun, but that's not the goal. The goal is to enjoy the journey, enjoy the sports, enjoy when you're doing the acting, the people, the camaraderie, and the fun of it all, whatever it is. Because what I found around North America on my bicycle trips was, what was really hurting was the lack of community. We're really hurting for community, where people do, and even more so now with the COVID and then the internet. People are at home, they're connecting with maybe more people on their internet, but they're not having that human contact.
That's the problem.
Face to face.
I mean, that's the issue, because we falsely feel like we're more connected. Because I could, not physically interact with anyone for 3 months and feel like I'm so connected, because every day I'm talking to 100 different people through the internet. But you're not actually connecting. It's very, very different. Even me doing this podcast with you today, sitting in person, I do most of them. I need to do remote, because the people are in different places and timing and everything. But it's a vastly different experience. We're actually physically here. It feels different. We're meant to be in, in communities. We're meant to physically be. We're not meant to be living through screens.
No, exactly. And that's why when you asked to do a podcast on me, because you were in New York, and I said, no, I'll wait till you come to Vancouver, right?
and we got there.
So you made it 20 years later. No, not to.
It felt like it.
But I haven't aged, so it's okay.
Exactly. You still look great.
I'm still young at heart. Oh my gosh. But it's true that we really need that kind of community, and young people in schools now, like, they're staying up till 3, 4 in the morning, apparently, trying to get more and more followers so they think they're popular.
It's sad. It's sad. And I think that's going to surely at some point die off. I don't see how it's going to sustain this whole model of social media, people needing more followers, basing their whole self-worth on something that's just not real. It's like numbers on a screen. It's just, it's madness. It's terrifying.
Yeah, please watch Nick's podcast, but other things not so much. Just so you're not on the computer too often. But this is really a good one because it's educating the people about being connected with each other. So
exactly, trying to use it. I think you can use technology to get some positive stuff out there, but it's how do you navigate the all the other stuff. So it's a difficult thing.
Because we need that, like that technology. I always think we can build war missiles to separate us, or we can build airplanes to bring us together. So that young girl, Greta, like Thunberg, like amazing. And then some people will be critical because if she took a plane one time, but she took that boat across, which is pretty amazing. But if she took a plane, but sometimes we need to take those things to get to places to educate people about things. So we're often hard on people that are really trying to make a difference. We put them up on a pedestal and then we want to catch them doing something wrong. But I'm telling people right now that I do lots that I don't feel good about. So you can catch me if you want. I'm not a guru. I don't want followers. I write books to get people thinking for themselves and to follow their own heart. And I love that about the anonymity of my bicycle trips, because I'd come into town, I'd do like an interview or whatever, and they maybe do a story in the paper, but then I was gone, and I'd be happy just having a paper bag over my head. It was the message that's important. And that's the same about the film that they're doing right now in my life, which I'm really excited about. It was such an honor. Some filmmakers from Mexico were doing this, and they came and they loved what I was doing. And I said, that's great. And they wanted to do it on my life. And I said, if you do it on my life, it's most important about my message. You can do it on my life and things I've done, but I really want the message about that we don't feel good enough. And because if we don't understand that, if we just think that we have the message of saying just be kind or no bullying, that doesn't do any good unless we understand where it comes from. It's the same thing with dieting. If we diet to look good, then we'll get bored with it. I stay in really good shape and eat because I eat well all the time because I'm excited and I'm outdoors all the time doing stuff. I'm not trying to build big muscles, but I've got big muscles. No, I'm just kidding. Because I love what I do. So, I eat well because I'm excited. So it's not like a diet where I hate what I'm eating, but I have to do it. Same with getting in shape. If you're going there to try to get in shape, nothing against earphones, but I'm trying to get people away from technology more, is to listen to the music of the nature, like the ocean lapping on the shore, the birds chirping. They'll go in a big run here in Vancouver with 50,000 people to be around people, and then half of them have got headphones on. I'm going like, why aren't you connecting with these people? They've done studies on people that with sports teams that 70% of wins, amateur and pro, is when they play at home, and it's because of the energy of people that they give to you. So when you take off your headphones when you're running in a thing like that and wave I've always been competitive, and I've been in a lot of long distance stuff, and I love the energy of the crowd. They're cheering you on. They're giving us that shared energy, community.
Oh, it's so important. And it's something that we disconnect from, and it's crazy. It's like what you're saying. So it's we need to find a way to become more connected back to that.
We got to do that. And you're doing that. That's what's so beautiful. I mean, we'll go to a sporting event and we'll be taking pictures at a golf tournament, and I'm going like, why don't you just watch it? It's on TV. You could record it if you want, but you're doing this. You're going to the fireworks with 500,000 people, and you're taking pictures of fireworks. And look at this.
It's madness. It's so crazy. And like you're saying, I mean, for exercise, for whatever you're trying to achieve, if you're attaching it to these sort of goals that are not deep-seated enough, if it's like I want to exercise just so I can look good, and I've met so many people that. And I've trained all my life, used to compete in competitive sport. And I train every day just because it makes me feel good. I
Yeah, see,
don't do
that's
it. I'm
good.
not trying to get a result. I do it every morning. Some sort of cardio. I'm out, either in nature or in the gym or doing something because it mentally makes me feel amazing. So I
We
do
need
it for that reason.
exercise.
Yeah, it makes you feel good. But if I was doing it because I thought, oh no, I've got to do it to reach this goal,
Yeah,
and I think that's anything in life, isn't it?
yeah,
You're not going to stick to it. It's
no,
like with acting, if you're like,
yeah,
okay, I'm gonna do acting because I need to become this successful actor, I need to get this thing, you're gonna
yeah,
very quickly start hating the process and
yeah,
throw in the towel because the joy's been taken out of it. It's not
yeah.
being done for the right reason anymore.
Yeah, and you're actually getting more separate from people. Like there's people in Hollywood, they're really respected because of their attitude, and they're just so great. I mean,
Mm,
I was so sad when Robin Williams took his life because
mm.
I just thought he was so great. And when he'd come to Vancouver, he'd be wearing his khaki pants and talking to people, and just he'd be himself, you know.
It's so
Yeah,
sad.
he didn't have to hide. He just enjoyed stuff, and that was such a tragedy. Like when we lose people that are just
Mm.
real, and he cared about people in the army and doing stuff, and he was very caring.
Oh, it's incredibly sad. It's so sad. Yeah,
Like
those.
Twitch, Twitch who took his life. Remember, he was on Ellen DeGeneres' show
Oh yes,
with
yes, yes.
dancing with
Last
early,
that was
yeah.
recently. Yeah,
Yeah, so
yeah.
you think in dance, family, beautiful wife and two kids, and so to see something like that, we didn't know he was hurting, and he was hurting, and we don't know that, and so something was going on. I don't know what it was, but
It's quite shocking,
it's
isn't it?
just shocking when you see that. Wow, how could we not know, eh? And how could he
Mm,
not
mm.
feel comfortable to share with us what he's going through? And but we don't. I held that inside. That's why I was suicidal, because I felt shame around not feeling good enough, or just that I wasn't happy here, like because I was just following the crowd.
And you had something else inside you that you didn't know how to harness or where to
Yeah,
put it. And I guess is that where the drugs were then to numb
yeah, I didn't want
what
to
you were.
feel that feeling, because something inside, and I believe this is in all of us. When I was on the bike trip, the first one, this becomes so loud because you're out there, and these start getting quieter and quieter.
Yeah,
But we need that time alone with ourselves, and that's why we have nature.
yeah, yeah,
People are not out in nature, and that's when you can listen here easier.
yeah, because there's no noise around
No
you and
noise.
not and you're getting away from other people's opinions or
Yeah,
views and all that sort of stuff, because how on earth are you meant to make your own decision or be in tune with yourself if you've got not even just from people in direct contact. You
yeah,
wake up in the morning, you're looking at your phone, you're being influenced by all these different messages and propaganda and media and whatever. And how can you form your own, be sort of true to
yeah.
your heart when you're filling your brain with so many conflicting
Different
bits of
things.
information? Doesn't make sense.
I
Yeah.
know, it's unreal, like how I really have seen how cults have formed. I think
Yeah.
everything's almost a cult, because
Yeah.
anytime we follow something that doesn't resonate with our heart, but we end up following because we need to belong. And that's where, instead of with community, and that's why, like with gangs or whatever, a lot of them join because they didn't, maybe, no judgments again, they had maybe a tough family life, and or didn't feel at home, and they needed that kind of acceptance, right?
Mm,
And then
mm.
now young people are 18, or just a young guy killed in a school, 17. It might have been like, I don't know if it was gang or not, but they said it was targeted, so it's probably something,
Mm.
and it's just tragedy
It's
at that
horrible.
young age.
It's madness. Yeah. It's
uh,
just life's so precious and we're not it's just crazy where the world's gone. And I think we just can't accept that life is actually like what we talked about before. It can be a lot more simple and there's not this magic answer out there. We don't need more. It's just
yeah,
about being more present, but that's too simple of an answer
yeah,
to most people. The ego wants to try and keep searching for more power, more acquisition to then prove that we're something that we're not.
yeah.
It doesn't
it's
change anything.
it's really tough, it's really tough to change things. Another thought that I wrote is, I
Yeah.
may not be able to change the world I see around me, but I can change the way I see the world within me. So it's our
Yeah.
attitude. Another one I dedicated to Christopher Reeves, who was a Superman, fell off his horse and was quadriplegic. Remember, him and his wife had such good attitude. So I wrote, our happiness doesn't depend on the number of challenges we're handed, but on how they're handled. So again, it's our attitude, and we have a choice to be negative or positive. And I'm not always positive.
Yeah.
But even when I'm negative, I'm positive that I'm negative. No, I'm just kidding. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah. I like that. Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm always positive.
Yeah. And on that note, with everything, I mean, how many books have you written?
It's a funny thing because they're little books of thoughts.
Yeah.
You know, I have
I'm just going to show this.
Yeah, I'll show you something. But yeah, thank you for doing that.
And I also want to promote we're going to talk about your documentary.
And I have 4 little books called Reflections, these little ones. And why I'm promoting them, it's just I want people to have good thoughts. I want my little books here after I'm gone. So it's not about me. I just, so many people have helped me in my life and supported me in my journey. And I think books, films, and music are 3 ways we can reach people, you know, and
I agree.
And so to read positive things is really important. And there's some great books out there for people. When you say how many books have you written, I feel like more channeled. These thoughts came through me. I've never been a writer to sit down and write, and I'm not that kind of writer. But these little thoughts have come through me, and so they're all like little thoughts. Like the present moment is a gift to me. My gift is to be present every moment.
Yeah, these are
another one is I always love to see you, but I don't have to see you to always love you. So when we're talking about relationships, you know, like it's so important. This one I dedicated to Terry Fox that ran across Canada on one leg and was really famous up here. And
it's crazy.
I'll never find out what I can do unless I do all I can to find out. So living our life to the fullest. Yeah.
See, I think what you're doing with this is more important now than ever because people's attention spans as well are so, you know, a lot of people aren't going to sit there and be able to read a full book, but being able to, you know, pick one of these up and just find, you know, these different messages, that's powerful. Yeah. And that's something that, you know, people, even if they don't read through the whole thing, you pick it up, you might find one a day that helps you. And I think that's fantastic.
That one I saw real quickly.
Oh, yeah.
I know every thought.
You saw which one, yeah.
Some bodies have left this life. I want my life to embody the beauty they've left behind.
That's so nice. Yeah.
Another word is, if you have something nice to say about me, please say it to me now while I'm alive and need it, not when it's too late and I'm gone. Because people come from all over the world to somebody's service. And I just think, wow, I wish they could sit up at their grave and hear, are you sure you're talking about me? Exactly. I don't need to feel not good enough because I'm actually loved and you think I was good enough.
Yeah.
Why didn't you tell me sooner?
Tell me when I needed to hear it, when it was going to help me. It's so crazy, isn't it? We hold these things in. And it's like, you know, it's often with parents as well. Like they care so much about us, but they're too, I don't know what it is, but they're conditioned to not really, you know, actually say that to their kids.
Yeah, we have a hard time.
And you have a hard there. And you sort of just, that's all you're wanting as a kid, to just hear from your parents, you know, these messages of support or whatever it is. And it often gets said, you know, sort of like you're saying, too late or when you don't need it, but you just want to hear these things. Yeah.
Our family, my family, we didn't talk about feelings. We never hugged and we never said, I love you, but they were really great. They would give their life for me, but everything was in terms of money. Right. So that was really tough on me as a young guy. And I think that's why I ended up addicted, not to blame them. They were taught what they were taught. But what I've learned from it, just like Jim Carrey learned what he learned from having all this money and everything, is that I need to get people to see that it's feelings. We need to talk about feelings, not to hold inside, you know, like, and there's schools have got to change that way.
Yeah.
Where they put a little thought on the board at the start of class and just, it takes a minute and just say, what does this thought mean to you? You know?
Yeah.
And then they think about it, or go around the room and say, just share one feeling. Like, are you happy, sad, excited, or whatever? And then the teacher can go around after and say to little Johnny, wow, you said you're sad. Are you okay? And little Johnny might say, well, I lost my dog the night before and I'm really sad. So then the teacher will understand why they're not really present, right?
Exactly.
Instead of yelling at them and say, sit up, or pay attention.
It's not, how's that going to help? Yeah.
It's just, it's got to change, but it's overwhelming for teachers. I understand that too, because parents, a lot of people are having kids that maybe shouldn't be having kids,
Yeah,
because
100%. I think if you're not ready to do it, or you're not going to be able to take responsibility and give the kids, what they need emotionally, then that should be, then you maybe aren't ready to do it, because it's sort of that really impacts the kids, and then it's sort of a vicious cycle, because then the kids will pass that on to their kids, and unless you break the cycle, like what
you have to break that cycle.
You're talking about, like what I've have done and trying to keep doing with my own life, and parents, being probably similar to yours, where amazing parents, amazing people, but very shut off emotionally.
I think we have the same.
It's like,
it's really hard.
It's so hard.
And I think a lot of people have kids because they think they're going to get the love, because little babies are so cute and they're going to get this love, and then the kids start growing up, and just like a relationship after the year, right, of a romance, they're not what you thought. They're different. And same with the kids, they have their own life, and they don't want to be told or programmed or made into little robots, right?
Exactly.
And then they had big battles with their families, and oh my God, it's just that cycle.
It's a cycle, a never-ending cycle. And so you were saying you in amongst all of this, you've worked in education, in teaching. That's been okay, great.
I taught a little bit, just for a short time, but I've been in schools speaking, like as a keynote speaker or whatever. So I really get to see kids a lot, and I just really think, there's really changes that need to happen. And same with the addiction, and like that's a real huge challenge now, like more and more, and it's becoming overwhelming, like on the streets, and
getting worse.
Because we got to get people in touch to see that it's okay, if you've been abused or raped or whatever, that it wasn't about you, that you can forgive yourself. You can go, instead of going to the drugs or alcohol. But unless we talk to kids young enough, they're going to go to those drugs and stuff early. And then once they're so addictive now, and then it's really challenging.
Oh God,
so we got to start when they're young.
No, it really is. Yeah, it's once you're on that path and in that cycle, it's so hard to get out of. It's scary. It's a big issue.
Well, once you're like that, and then you've got no teeth, and you're down there, and where's the hope, and you're living in cement, it's all cement and around, you're not in nature. And people feel for them when they don't know what to do. And those people down there who are beautiful stories, but they need money, so they'll rip somebody off or home invade or do whatever. And it's overwhelming, a challenge. The police don't know really what to do. People don't know what to do. And
it's a vicious cycle as well, I guess. Even the amount of money it costs to just service the whole thing, to put a band-aid over it is difficult. And then how do you actually, on the next level, get to the bottom of how do we, in a sustainable way, try to improve this? It's really tough. Your anniversary of Under Bracks, we've relaunched with the classic white pair. We've also got new styles coming out super soon. We're donating $1 from every pair to mental health, currently to 1 in 5. You can find all of this at www.underbracks.com.
And then, people, because they feel for these people, they say, why do we have things like the Olympics and different things? Why don't we put it towards the homeless? I kind of see both sides of things now. It's a funny thing how most issues I see both sides. But then I think, I went to the Olympics to watch, just wandered around Vancouver when they were here. And I thought, this is fantastic. People are here from all different countries. People are working hard to be Olympic athletes. We can't just do one thing and feed the homeless. We've got to show them hope that by improving yourself and bringing them together and doing your best. And that's exciting, right? So we can't be one or the other. And same with marijuana. People would be saying, oh, it should be legalized. And I said, for me, it was my worst drug, and made me really paranoid. And I've seen it set off schizophrenia in people. And I said, great, if you want to legalize it, but it's got to be done with education. Just because you're happy doing it doesn't mean you should walk down the street and blow it in my face or other people's face, right? So it's about being thoughtful, like with different things. And so that's why I think just healthy discussion.
I think, like you're saying, education is the biggest thing. We need education.
Another one of my thoughts. It's all right for me to have opinions, but not to be so opinionated. I always have to be right.
Yes,
right.
These are great. I love that.
So it's good to have strong opinions, but to respect other people's opinion. One I dedicate to my parents, it was a turning point for me, was when I argue, I need to be right. When I discuss, I want to share. I hope my desire to love is stronger than my need to be right. So that thought, when it came through me, changed my life, because now I don't argue with anybody anymore. I just, that's how they feel, and they're not going to change if I argue with them.
Because I think that's the thing, isn't it? Because you go, when you're in a position of, I need to change this person and I need them to see things the way I see it, or make this change that they're not currently willing to make, they may never be willing. It's not healthy for anyone. So it's it's just thinking, okay, you know what, I'm gonna conduct myself in the best way that I can, and I'm going to accept them for how they are. And if I can encourage some change through them, great. If not, that's not my problem. It's not up to me to do that. It's
kind of an unconscious way of saying I'm not good enough, but if you join me or agree with me, then I'll feel good enough, right?
Exactly.
I'm not good enough.
I think I sort of thought about that a while ago. And it just makes you realize that it's almost you needing that validation that your path is the best path by getting them to agree to it or make that change, whereas none of that matters. If you're happy within yourself, it shouldn't matter what other people think or say or feel. It's a tricky thing.
It is to follow your own heart, but when you do, people, I think, end up listening. They want to hear, and like if I had children, we don't, I'd take them to every different religion. I'm not religious, but I respect people that are religious, but I would, so that they were free thinkers, so they'd think for themselves and see that, well, all these religions kind of say the same thing.
Exactly.
They might differ in one little thing, but that's what we end up fighting over.
That's the thing. All of the core things. It's very similar. But and another thing I was going to ask you about your work. It seems so authentic. Everything you've done, the way you've gone about it. Like, for you, has that been natural? Has that been a battle of, just staying pure to your message, not trying to turn it into something, so big that it becomes, the message gets diluted? It sounds like you've been very true over all these years to, why you're doing it and how you're going to do it, and the message you're going to leave behind, rather than getting caught, because especially, again, in this world we live in now, where everyone's trying to get the biggest platform to get it. And you've got these motivational speakers, and some of them I've followed that have millions of followers, they're making millions of dollars, and what they're saying is just absolute crap. It's a cult. It literally is a cult. So I guess that's my question.
You've really hit a place in me that about promoting something or promoting ourselves. Like, oh my God, you're going to make me really negative towards, because my least favorite people are probably other speakers, right? And I'm in the similar area to you, I guess. So I understand, I've seen a lot of it. So my books aren't out there all over the place now. I was with a distributor of the States, but then they sold and then to a big company, Simon & Schuster, which was huge, and my books would have got lost, and luckily I was self-published. Now I don't have my books in stores around anywhere, and except if I speak at things, but I'm not really speaking at things. But if I really promoted myself, I could do it. But a lot of these people I was asked to speak at a TED Talks kind of thing. So I went in to do, like, ahead of time. They knew who I was, and there was some people there, and there were some young guys who were coaches and stuff. And I came in, they wanted to know what I was going to talk about for the 20 minutes or whatever it was. And I said, I said, this is basically what I'm talking about. And they said, well, you got to do it with more passion. Well, when I speak at things, I do speak with passion. I said, I thought you just wanted to see what I'm going to be talking about. And I said, this isn't for me. I'm not a TED Talk person.
Well,
You want me to be a robot. You want me to you know when to laugh or whatever. I'm not a speaker like that. I'm very organized. I come in with my things, and I know where I'm going to go with it or whatever. With us, we were just kind of going wherever, but
yeah.
I have it, and I stick to time. I'm very respectful of time. I don't go over my time because it hurts the whole program of what they're doing. So I said, but I come from my heart, and I never know certain things I might go off or whatever.
Yeah.
And I'm not a robot. And I know a lot of speakers, and I've met them, and a lot of them, again, are my least favorite people, because I know behind the scenes. I'll tell you one person, but I won't tell you who it is.
Yeah.
But this person came to town, and I was asked to kind of be there and introduce them and everything. And I couldn't believe it. Like, they were the most insecure person ever. They're very, very famous. Their book's done a lot for people, which is good, because it's probably come from that place. But once they were on the stage, it got to that point, they lost touch with that again. And I ended up after this, she'd signed all her books. I came up and I had to call her on some stuff, and I should have been the one that was angry, but she was spitting mad because she knew that what I had told her was the truth. And she was just spitting mad. And then she had a guy there that was playing the music and stuff. And he came over to me after, and he said to me, "You sure don't know how to do business, do you?" And I said, "Yeah, no, I don't know how to screw people like that. That's not what I'm about." But they know, they come into town, they know how to promote themselves, but they're just people. And they're mostly, a lot of them are very sick people. I hate to judge, I don't mean that in a bad way. I think we're all sick, but people idolize these people, and they just go like, don't ever idolize me. That's my biggest fear. I don't want to be a guru. I don't want that. But I'd love you to have my books. And if you buy them, I'll put the money into good stuff, like the concerts that I do, or things to bring awareness to people.
Yeah.
But I don't get the publicity, because I don't go out.
You don't want, well, he's not, I mean, and that's what I'm very ambitious, but it's what I get a lot of anxiety and just feel disconnected when I try. And, even when I was promoting my book a bit over a year ago when it came out, and it was meant to, do all these different publicity things and try and promote it on social media and in business and, everything. It just, it gives me a huge amount of anxiety, because I'm just like, I don't care. I just want to, like, I wish someone could just look after that side for me, because I just want to actually do the stuff that I care about. And then it becomes so difficult when you get swept up in that side to really even have the joy of, why you first did it in the first place. And you lose the core message in the process, because then it becomes just like everything else. Now it's all business. It's about, how can we, capitalize on a trend? How can we make more money if we do this instead of that? It's like, well, hang on, this isn't even what it was in the first place now. What the hell has this become?
It's really hard. And I think, because you're way more technical than I am, that's where I get PTSD. So a lot of mine, I would promote more what I'm doing, not me so much, but with what I'm doing, but I'm just not good at that. But I've had a lot of volunteers over the years with events I've done. I've been really, really fortunate, but you've got that, but I think a lot of times, like, how did Gandhi ever organize what he did without social media? Look how many millions of people followed, or Martin Luther King. They didn't have that, and so it's really tough. Look at Eckhart Tolle, like, his book.
I wanted to ask you about that as well. So you know Eckhart.
If anybody knows him, I don't know who. I was like, of 20 people that were there kind of with him at the start.
Wow.
And he came to me because of my little reflection books. So and now my reflection books haven't done like what his does, but he's got people behind him. He's got his took off without any publicity or anything. It just, and I think that's beautiful. Like,
so that's more
Gandhiism. He came from a good place. Now he's got other books. He said to me, "I'm only going to do this one book, The Power of," that's it. But now, and he, this is something he said to me, by the way. He said, and I'll always remember, he said, he said, this is at the start, right before he's known it. And he said, Brock, if you ever detect, he uses funny words, he's very formal.
Yeah.
If you ever detect that I lose touch, please kick me in the butt.
Yeah.
And then I saw him a while later. We don't stay in touch or anything. But I ran into him and I said, and he said to me, do you detect anything? This was only a year or two later. And I said, no, I think you're doing pretty good. But now he's got so much stuff. I might give him a kick in the butt now. I got to admit.
It's become huge now.
It's become,
he's known globally, and he's become, fills out bloody stadiums to
and I say,
crazy.
Why don't you come and support me?
A
lot of people, nothing against Eckert or anything, but a lot of people, he's a different kind of guy than I am. He's a very much into him, not into himself in a bad way, but he's a loner as far as more of an introvert, would you say? Whereas I'm much more community. I think that's what's missing. So I'm out there more in community. But I wish someone like that would support what I'm doing and say, this, I want to give you the money because you've never sought money. And if it happened just kind of organically like that, I would take the money and I would put it into good stuff that I'm doing. But that's always been my hardest thing is funding, like all my events. They ended because I didn't have the funding.
Well, that's the thing, isn't it? It's money, it's time. You need a team of people to do it. And it can't just be, you need to be able to focus on what you're good at doing and not worry about that side and have people to do it, which it's all, the tricky part. But I think, and hopefully your documentary, which I will, all of this stuff for everyone listening, by the way, I'm going to have all of the links in the notes so anyone listening will be able to click on all the direct links, find
with
information,
the documentary and everything,
for your book, for the documentary, which is, here it is, it's
February 26th.
Going to hold this up,
which is actually my birthday.
On your birthday, which is amazing.
And show the other side too, because how they can get tickets on that thing. QR but code. It's interesting because they can come from Australia and everything. We only have a few seats left, so do it quick. But if you're in Vancouver here or the area, I'd love you to get tickets because it is going to be, honestly, it's about my message, but it's also people can ask questions. There's a Q&A after. It's a 35-minute documentary that's very moving, and I think people will really be touched, and
absolutely.
And it's only $10. Isn't that amazing?
It's at $10. It's nothing.
Even with my concerts, people said, these are fantastic, all these top performers. Why don't you charge like $100 or more? And I only charge $20. I said, I want everybody to be able to afford to come in.
That's amazing.
All the events I do. And if they don't have money, I say, I'll get you in,
Well, that's what I was going to say before. I mean, what you're doing, I think all of this should be, as big as Eckert Tolle, what you're offering.
Come on, Eckert.
If
you're out there. You're Eckert. I don't know. I know you don't have time to listen to this, but actually, it's a funny thing. People do have time. They think well-known people don't have a lot of time, but they've got a lot of people working
got
for them.
Exactly.
They have nothing.
They've actually got more time because
got more time. They're out golfing and doing stuff.
They can focus on just what they're
speaking or whatever
they're doing. But I think this stuff should be huge. But I think the point that I think is really powerful that I take out of a lot of what you're doing is, sure, that would be great, but you're doing it for the right reason. At the end of the day, all of the stuff you're doing will have longevity. Your message will last. No one's going to, even with Eckert, once people are gone, they're not going to think about, how many people did they fill in a venue? How many books did they sell? It'll be like, it's more distilled to just what was the message? How did they make people feel? How can that carry on? Which you've already achieved. And I think you're able to do it authentically like you're doing because from what I've learned anyway, your philosophy in life is, we don't need that much. You're able to, even when you're saying, if you sell one of your concerts, you're going to put that money towards positive things. You can think like that because you already know that you live here in Vancouver. It's beautiful and you got an amazing life. You know that I don't need, millions and millions of dollars and more of this and more of that. So then that's so powerful because if you just have this need, which a lot of us do, that I need more, then you don't have the freedom to then put it to do the things you care about, because you're just trying to fill yourself first. So if you already have that, it gives you that freedom to be able to, regardless of what happens and how many books you sell, to just keep doing what you want to do and help people.
See, that it's so beautiful what you said. And it's kind of like people like say they're rich and then they have a house here in this country, in this country, right?
Yeah.
But if you do stuff from the heart, I never started that way, but I've realized, there's a book, Do What You Love and the Money Will Follow, or whatever.
Yeah.
And but now I can go anywhere because of what I've done. I have people all over the world. I can go to anywhere and they'll have me stay at their place for free because we love each other and we care. So I don't have to have a house here that I go to and a house there where I'm going to sit as lonely as I am sitting in this mansion here. I've got people everywhere.
Exactly. Which is just, that's the crazy thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's sort of, so the end result is you get to do the same thing on an experience level, but it's probably more, it's actually more connected because, you're going to another country instead of staying in an expensive, sterile hotel. Yeah. You're going to stay in a house with people that you connect with and care about and have a more wholesome experience, but you're still getting to do all the same things, which, I always find that interesting. And even if I think back in my life when I had literally no money at all, I've always been able to do all the things I wanted to do. I found a way to travel, to see the world, to do this, to do that. If you just stay true to what you want to do, you find a way to make it work. And you realize you don't need all this other crap anyway. It's like so weird.
Yeah, it's unbelievable,
Yeah.
It's funny. I lived in a city called Kelowna, which was a big city at the time, about 100,000. And I had a place, it was a coffee house with no coffee, and it was vegetarian. And I lived in my homemade camper in the back, which was funky with a fireplace, and everybody and I was coaching the college football and college basketball team at the same time. So I was coaching two major sports and running this place and living in my homemade camper in the back of it. I had music 5 nights a week. And everybody donated tables, chairs. The walls were covered with artwork from artists and different things. And people would come. I had a board of directors, the mayor at that time, and doctor friends of mine. So I went through university. They were on my board of directors, but they said, Brock, we love what you do. You don't ever have to answer to us. Just do. We love what you're doing. I lived in the back of that for 5 years and didn't make a cent. And it was like going to somebody's house for a meal. I had volunteers that made people like a vegetarian meal each night. And I was chosen Citizen of the Year by the Junior Chamber of Commerce, by the city. So here I didn't have any money, but I had people.
Yeah.
People.
Which is the most important thing. Yeah.
Like, what do I need money for if we have people?
Yeah.
I had enough. I had a bed. I can sleep on somebody's couch. I don't need a big house that I'm sitting there. Those famous people are all watching the same TV program you are in your little place.
Exactly. They're all having the same experience anyway, but and the money and all of that stuff can get in the way and distract you from being able to do what's actually important. Yeah. So it's an amazing thing. It's, incredible to be able to live like that in the world that we live in now, where we're just, we're pulled the opposite way. Everything's trying to pull us away from living like that when the answer is actually, again, so much more simple, like we're saying.
Yeah, it is.
So, look, I love everything we're talking about here. I could sort of talk for,
By the way, can I stay here? I don't have a home now. No, I'm just kidding.
You can. You're welcome to. If you wanted to, yes.
Yeah. Oh, that's so nice.
Of course. But look, I will probably have to do a follow-up interview in the future because there's so many more things I want to talk about. But we finish every episode with 5 closing questions. So these can be,
God.
And these are just short answers, whatever comes to mind. So the first one is, what's your best childhood memory that comes to mind?
My dog. Yeah.
Oh, no.
And he passed away when I was 14.
Yeah.
So I had him through my childhood. That was the hardest day of my life. And I wrote a song about him and everything. That's how much it meant to me. And I just cried. And as an athlete, I was told don't cry and all that. But that was really hard. That was my closest friend, during all that time. So that would be. It's sad, but it was the best. Right?
Yeah, totally. What do you think currently is the biggest burden on mental health in society?
People not understanding why they're having mental health issues, not getting to that they're not good enough, really, to see that, because you can't do something about something if you don't understand where it's coming from. So I think that's a big challenge.
Yeah, it goes back to what you said, and it's that really stuck with me, what you said, because it just simplifies such a clear way of understanding this broad problem. So totally.
I can't do anything if I don't understand where it's coming from.
What's your personal definition of happiness?
Just really being close to my heart, it's like one of my thoughts, but it's about, I don't need to be all smiles. It's knowing that I am whoever I feel like being. It's not smiling. I can be sad, I can be angry, I can be whatever. And I don't feel shame around that it's okay, as long as I'm not taking that anger at other people and things. But just understanding where it's coming from.
Love that. What are you most afraid of?
The thing that came to mind, God, and people think that I'm afraid of death.
So am I.
I am. People don't like to say that when they're spiritual, and I don't. I get upset with people that are really spiritual. Everything's beautiful, and I love being here. I love like what I'm doing here. I love that I'm growing. I've got a lot more growing to do, and my body is in a lot of pain from the things that I've done. I don't believe in age, but and so I don't believe in style or color or whatever. But I don't know where I'm going, and I don't like not knowing where I'm going. And if I created something, it couldn't be any more beautiful than what we've been given. What we've done with it is tragic with this earth, but I don't want to pass on.
No, I share that. I'm terrified of it still, because same thing. I just want it to go forever. I just like, there's too many things to experience and do, and exactly. It's like a hard thing to get your head around.
At the last moment, I'm going to give my life to every religion, just in case I was. Wasn't sure. I wasn't sure about it.
Exactly. Just to be as a fail-safe. I might do that as well. So final one, what are you most proud of?
I'm proud that I really started following my heart, and that I'm doing my best to not go along with the crowd and different things. And somebody said to me the other day, like, if you have made all this money, like say with these athletes, because I've always been athletic and everything, and all their money, and like, this sounds like a simple thing, but there's a big message behind. But say they go to another team or something, they're given more money, and I think I would stay loyal at that team. They say, well, they don't think somebody would, and I said, well, I think I would. I can't say, it's easy for me to say, but I want to be loyal to my heart, that not to the money, not be drawn to that. All these fans are cheering for you, and then you say, well, you're doing it for the fans, and then you do it for the money. Like, if you're doing it for the money, just say, I'm doing it for the money. I'm a greedy, you know what I mean?
No, I know 100% what you mean, and I know the feeling myself. Whenever I've done that, I can feel, because I've always been quite in tune, with my gut, and every time you're going against your heart, you instantly feel it, and so it's like, and it is definitely, if you're going to go against it, it's healthier, I think, like you're saying, to at least acknowledge, okay, you know what, I don't really believe in what I'm doing right now, but I'm doing it because I want money. Okay, fine. At least be honest with yourself about it. But I think that's a problem in the world where we're not honest about why.
With work or something. I always think we need three things on a human level. One is a job we really love and believe in, and it's got a purpose. A home that's a really soft place to land, where it's yours, where you feel really comfortable, doesn't matter how big, and real friends in your life. So on a human level, we need those three things. Most people don't have any of those three. They have acquaintances, but not real friends. They have a house, but not a home. And they have work, but it's not something that they're passionate about. So if you go after one, often you'll go after all three.
Yeah. And I think why it's so important to be honest about things is the influence it has on other people is, okay, I should go for all of these fake things as well.
Yeah.
So, it's, but I that's pretty powerful what you said. So, well, yeah, thank you so much, Brock. This is, I like I said, I could talk for another 5 hours with you about all of this, and love everything you're doing. Thank you for coming and doing this in person.
Thank you. That was such an honor that you asked me. And everybody, keep listening to Nick's podcast. And what you're doing in the world is so important. And I'm really touched and honored to be here. So thank you.
I appreciate it. And same to me. And, it really means a lot, that you've made the time to come in person and do it. Really, admire what you've done and how what you've dedicated your life to. Yeah. It was super impressive. And again, for anyone listening, in the links to this show, we'll have your books, we'll have the documentary that's coming out on February 26th. So make sure to check out and support the work that Brock's doing, because it is really important and amazing. So everyone listening, make sure.
Thanks, everybody. Thank you.
Thanks so much. Thank you for that. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks to Brock Tully for joining me today for Move Your Mind. If you'd like to learn more, you can purchase the Move Your Mind book at nickbracks.com/book, or you can join the Move Your Mind community at moveyourmind.me.